Hey everyone, Kylene Terhune here, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And for those of you who don't know, I have stage 1A nodular sclerosis, non-bulky Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm getting better at saying that. So, as a woman who has cancer, I am going through some fertility treatments. So a couple of things I just wanted to talk about. I wanted to share why, what they are, that sort of thing. But I think it's funny because I think some people are getting very easily confused in the type of treatment or whatever, thinking that it's like infertility treatment, and that's not what it is. So I'm not infertile. I'm not doing this because I otherwise could not have children. I am doing this because we want to save my eggs, because chemotherapy can damage your ovaries or has the potential to damage your ovaries to the point which they can no longer function properly. So there is the potential that I come out of chemotherapy without the ability to, release eggs and get pregnant naturally. So because of that reason, I'm going through fertility treatment, but normally I'm healthy. I have a healthy uterus, I have healthy ovaries, and as an FDN, I was finally able to balance my hormones naturally. Took a little while, took a little time, took a little effort, but through nutrition, lifestyle, supplementation, figuring out what my body needed, I was able to completely balance my hormones, get on a 28-day cycle, have pain-free periods, all of that, which before was not the case. I have a history of cysts. I've been in the emergency room. I had extremely painful cycles. They would change in duration and length and all sorts of things. So I was really proud of myself when I was able to dig deep and figure out what my body needed. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, because everyone's journey is different, and so I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to, tell you not to do anything either. I only want to bring education, share my own personal experience. And so one of the things I wanted to share is, if I was not going through chemotherapy, fertility treatment is probably something I wouldn't personally choose for myself. It's very violent to your body in terms of manipulating your hormones and forcing your body to do things. And there are so many other ways that we can manipulate our hormones in a natural, positive way that are gentle, may take a little bit of time, but personally, if I didn't try those methods first and fail completely time and time again, I don't think I would get fertility treatment. And if I did it, I don't even know if I would at that point. But because this is such a unique situation, I've decided to do it. But what are some of those other methods? Well, diet is definitely one of them. If you're not getting the nutrients you need to support your body and to support your hormones, then it's not going to want to provide and protect a baby. So if there's any other infections in your body, if there's any other stress in your body, if there's anything distracting your body that says it's not safe, it's not happy, it's not healthy, then it's not going to say you're ready for a baby. Basically, you have to be in a pretty good state of homeostasis for your body to say, I'm ready and willing to care for a baby. And if it feels like, you're inflamed everywhere, you have a chronic disease, you have a nutrient deficiency, or it just knows that that's not going to be a healthy state for the baby to be in, then it's going to not allow you basically to get pregnant. So that's some of the things that, like nutrition, stress relief for sure, definitely supplementation, because nutrient deficiencies can play a huge role in fertility ability and just homeostasis in general, and inflammation, all that kind of stuff that plays together. So again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, for me personally, I was able to completely regulate my cycle, balance my hormones, and feel a lot better, working on all of those things. And if it wasn't for chemotherapy that could permanently damage the organ that helps you get pregnant naturally, I wouldn't be doing fertility treatment. That being said, I am. And it's an interesting process, being someone who likes to do as much as possible naturally, to be doing so much unnaturally. This is like super weird for me. And so this morning I had my, basically it's my groundwork, or yeah, my foundation meeting. And so I had my initial ultrasound and then my medication education. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to like tell people how much medication I'm going to be on. So basically today in my ultrasound was funny. So I was able to look at my uterus, which was pretty cool on the ultrasound. He's like, oh, you got a great uterus. It's like really healthy and all this kind of stuff. And he showed it to me and I was like, oh wow, it looks really good. And then he showed me my right ovary and my left ovary. So my right ovary has 11 eggs in it, which is great. Awesome. And my left ovary has, I think, 10, but it has a huge cyst in it. So like I said, I do have a history of cysts, so that didn't necessarily surprise me. But that can be a problem because the cyst can sort of act as a bully and sort of crowd out the eggs so that they don't mature properly or they're not ready to go. So that's a little bit of an issue. So what's, again, unique about the situation is normally they would postpone it for a month to see if that cyst naturally goes away, and that way they can get the ultimate amount of eggs, because this is an extremely expensive process, and you know, you really want to get as many eggs as possible, so you only have to do it one time, right? But for my situation, I basically have one shot, so because of that, we are going to push through and just gather as many as we can through this process and hope the cyst doesn't interfere. And so he said there's like maybe a little chance that it's not going to work, but we're going to push ahead and just hope that it does, basically. So it's not that it's not going to work, it's just that I would have less eggs viable, basically, is what he said. So that being said, we're moving forward. I start my medications on Sunday, and that is a lot of shots. So the way your hormones work naturally is at the beginning of your cycle, your estrogen is on top and your progesterone is below. They're both rising. They both hit their peak sort of ovulation phase. Your follicle stimulating hormone is released. You ovulate. Your progesterone dips down. Your estrogen dips down. Your progesterone then takes over. Your progesterone is higher in the second half, and your estrogen dips lower. And then when they're both low enough, you shed your uterine lining and you have your period. So normally your body is like, okay, I'm going to release follicle stimulating hormone. We're going to release some eggs, but not like all the eggs at once. We're going to release, you know, a couple eggs. So what we want to do throughout this process basically is we want to not release the eggs. We want to just basically keep them there and make them healthy. And so they're manipulating all your hormones so that they're growing and they're maturing without them releasing, because then we have to go in and get them, right? So this is crazy. I did not realize that it was this much, but I'm starting on 2 shots every day in the evening, starting on Sunday. And then a couple days before the harvest, I think I'm doing 3 shots in the evening. And then basically, like I said, that's discouraging ovulation. So you're not releasing the eggs. They are just maturing so that when we go for the egg harvest, you can go in and get them and get as many as possible. So we're hoping that the cyst does not interfere with my left ovary producing. Otherwise, we may have less eggs. But the reason that's important, because you're like, well, you got 11 in the right ovary, right? So their goal is always to get somewhere around 20 eggs that are viable, because every step of the process, the viability goes down, okay? So you harvest 20, but maybe like 8 to 10 of those are actually mature, viable eggs, and those are the ones you'd freeze. Then when you thaw them and you inseminate them, you're gonna have like even less than that takes. So maybe you end up with like 3 to 5. So the numbers go drastically down like every step of the process. And so you want to get as many as you can. So if we start with 11, then you might end up maybe with 1. If you start with 20, maybe you're going to have 3 to 5, right? So that's kind of why they're a little worried about that left ovary. But it is what it is. Like I said, if I wasn't going through chemo, I don't know if this is a process I would personally choose for myself. I know a lot of people have to go through this, and I'm not discouraging it, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying, for me personally, I don't know if it's a choice that I would have made without knowing that, you know, my ovaries can be damaged. yeah. So again, it's a personal decision. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. But, so that's why they want so many eggs. And so in order to do that, you really have to manipulate your hormones. So before I get the egg harvest, and of course they said when you're thinner, I guess, and more compact or whatever, it can be a more painful process. Yay me, I have so many things going my way right now. So the week of the harvest, basically, or a few days, maybe the weekend prior to the egg harvest, is when I can really start feeling like crampy and bloated and really yucky. And then you get the egg harvest, and then a few days later you feel yucky because, I mean, they just went up inside of you and literally sucked things out. Did you know that's what it is? There's so many things I'm learning. They go up into your hoo-ha and they have like a needle that vacuums them out. So, I mean, how comfortable can that really be? So obviously you're not aware of that. So afterwards, for like 3 to 5 days, you're probably going to have a little discomfort as well. Probably have some, pain medication or some anti-inflammatories, something like that. And then you kind of go back to normal, except that in my case, 1 week after that, we're going to do the exact opposite of what we just did for the past month. So right now, what they're doing is they're building up my uterine lining. They're making sure that it's really thick, and they're making my body basically ready to create all these eggs and keep them healthy, right? Well, as soon as we're done making these and taking them, a week later, they're gonna start giving me shots to tear down my uterine lining and shut down my ovaries. So the reason we're doing this is because again, during chemotherapy, we want to protect my ovaries so that I do have the potential for them to work naturally after chemotherapy, and that they can basically turn back on, produce my hormones naturally, get rebalanced, have a normal cycle, and if we choose to get pregnant naturally, have the ability to do so. So the reason that they want to basically shut everything down during chemotherapy is that if they're not fully functioning during the process, it's been shown that there's maybe less uptake of the chemotherapy into the ovaries themselves. So if they're taking up less of the chemotherapy, then there would be less damage to the organ itself, more likelihood of its ability to function naturally after the chemotherapy is done, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the process that we're going through. So I don't have to start taking shots until Sunday, and then it's going to be like approximately a 10 to 14 day process where maybe a week of that's going to be really uncomfortable. So if you see me wearing a lot of sweatpants, that's probably what's going on. I'll probably do a video of the shots just because I think that's like the weirdest part for me and probably a lot of other people is like, how do you do this and what's it like and what does it feel like? So I'll probably do that and document that experience as well. But if you guys have any questions, it's so much and it's so not part of my life that I ever thought that I would be doing. Like literally in any situation ever did I ever think I'd be going through this process. And now all of a sudden I'm doing it and it's very fast. And like I said, normally they'd put it off a month, but now we're not. So it's just bing, bang, boom, get a lot of shots, be on a lot of hormones, get your harvest, shut it down, go into chemotherapy. Somewhere in there I'm getting my port put in. So it's just a lot, but you know, it is a really, I know for many, many women, it's an extremely emotional experience and it's very difficult. So kudos to everyone who's going through this voluntarily, and kudos to everybody that, is working to create a family and just really wants that with all of their heart. You guys are rock stars. This is not an easy process. So I give you props for that. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. So if you guys have any questions about the process or anything else, please let me know. But I hope you guys have an awesome week. Bye-bye.